Hey, welcome back to Aircraft Adventures. I'm Liam Locke, and we are back in the Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, the brand new simulator. Another flight today in the Airbus A320neo. I'm actually deriving a little bit of pleasure flying the Airbus right now, especially with the fly-by-wire sim add-on, which has added some additional modeling into the aircraft, so I think that's great, and I can't wait to see the additional updates they come out with next. But today we are sitting at Denver International Airport, KDEN, and we're going to be flying to LAX, Los Angeles International Airport in California. And today I'm going to try something new, and this might not go well at all. This is a no prep flight, so I just pulled the flight plan this morning, set the plane at the gate. I have not run this flight at all, so we're going to do this completely cold, no preparation, no walkthrough, no, testing the arrival and what kind of runway assignment I'm going to get going into LAX. We're just going to try and fly this live and, make the changes that we have to make based off what air traffic control offers up to us. Let's see how this goes. We're going to get things rolling right away, hop into the aircraft. And we'll jump right up here and go ahead and get the power going. So I do have my flight plan already set up. So we'll get the power turned on. I haven't done anything with the ground power, and I mentioned that in the last video where it's not actually connected. So let's just take a look here at air traffic control, and let's go ahead and call for ground services right away. So we'll tune ground, and we'll get that power supply connected just for that sake of realism.
1012, could you please send a ground power unit? Spirit 1012, a ground power unit is on the road.
So it looks like he's connected now. We'll go back in, get our external power turned on. Excellent. Start walking down our controls here. So now that we've got external power running, I'm going to go and turn on the navigation lights. I'm going to get my air data inertial reference system turned on. I'm going to scan down the controls here. A lot of these buttons are inoperable. Go down to our crew supply. Make sure the crew oxygen supply is turned on. Just verify wipers are turned off. Go up here. They've even, the fly-by-wire sim, they've added in the test buttons as well, so that's good. And we'll come back to the fuel pumps here in a moment. Although we don't have any conditioning control, these buttons are now enabled. So I just put them into straight up position. Nothing else really to control here. Don't need any other lights turned on at the moment. We do want to turn on this integrated panel, the backlit lighting, so we'll do that. And we'll go ahead and throw the seatbelt sign on. Get the non-smoking sign up. Get the emergency lights armed. Everything else here looks normal. Scanning down this side. Nothing to do over here. Go down to the captain's seat. I'm going to go ahead and turn up the intensity of the primary flight display and the navigation display. I usually go to about 12 o'clock. Looking up here at the EFIS panel, we'll go ahead and get the flight director turned on. Scanning down my side of the aircraft, get the ECAM displays turned up to about 12 o'clock as well. I really do not like the labels popping up over top of the controls. That gets to be frustrating at times. We'll get our flood panel lights turned on again to about 12 o'clock. Integrated lights here down on the pedestal to about 12 o'clock. Don't need to turn the weather on quite yet. We're not going to mess with that. Just spot check here, see that the parking brake is on. Engine 1 and 2 are off. We are in a normal position. Speed brake is not armed. Retracted. Flaps are in a 0 position and retracted. Nothing else to do here at the moment. Scan up. We don't have the jetway connected to the aircraft, so we'll do that process this time. And we go back to ATC.
Ground Spirit 1012, could you please connect the jetway to the aircraft? Spirit 1012, the jetway is going to be connected.
Wow, the animation of this jetway is improved over the last airport that I was at. Oh, that's really nice. Some quality animation there with the jetway connection. I was just flying out of Miami and the jetways didn't have that level of detail with the spinning wheel at the base, you know, adjusting for the proper angle of moving towards the aircraft, as well as the little awning cover draping over the aircraft. That wasn't happening in Miami, so interesting change here at the Denver International Airport. I like it. It looks good. Go back in aircraft. So now we have, excuse me, the cabin door open. Our inertial reference system will be in alignment in 5 minutes, so that system is getting started up. So we want to get our payload and fuel situated right now. The way we can do that is simply call a fuel truck. I'm not going to do the catering, so we're going to skip that.
Ground Spirit 1012, could you please send a fuel truck?
Spirit 1012, a fuel truck is on the road.
Brake pressure is good. That's not really fully modeled yet, so we don't have to worry about that. Don't have to worry about the ground proximity warning system. The barometric pressure is currently set for 29902. We'll adjust that here in a moment once we get our ATIS report. And just verify that our standby altimeter matches, and it does, 29902. Anti-skid is turned on right now. We won't set the auto brake quite yet for takeoff. TCAS system is in standby, which is where we need it to be at the moment. Parking brake is on. No other lights are required at this point. We already turned on overhead signs. We'll go up and turn the fuel pumps on. And we will get the APU fired up. So we'll get the APU in the start. The APU master switch turned on. Go down and look at the ECAM. Wait for our little flap open indicator before we actually start the auxiliary power unit. Alright, flap open indicated. Fire up the APU. Still starting up. We'll continue to watch this start up, wait for the APU generator to become active, and get some bleed pressure. And here comes the fuel truck. This will automatically activate the fuel and payload interface. And I guess I need to be prepared to do some calculations here because I pointed out last time that this Airbus works with kilograms and metric tons, and the Microsoft Flight Simulator doesn't give you the option to convert from pounds and gallons to kilograms and metric tons. So I have my converter ready. All right, let's take a look at our flight plan and see what we need to load. So today's block fuel is going to be 9,307 kilograms of fuel. We'll do a quick conversion on that. 9,307 translates to 20,518 pounds of fuel. So currently on board we have fuel of 23,439 pounds. Just go back and make this easier for you to see. Currently on board we have fuel 23,438 pounds. I need to be 20,518. So we can back this off a little bit. 20,518. Wow, that's really close. So at 44, that would be too low. 43, 44. We'll go with that. So at 44%, gives us good fuel distribution. 20,636 pounds. That's close enough for us. Now we'll take a look at the flight plan again. And I'm going to scroll down here to our weights. No cargo, 166 passengers on board, 17.3 metric tons is the payload. We need to get somewhere close to that. So we'll do 17,300 kilograms, becomes 38,139 or 38,140 pounds. And take a closer look here at the payload. Currently the payload is showing 32.1%. Payload down here is currently 20,259 pounds, and we need to get it to 38,140. So we're going to push our percentage slider up. This is the easiest way to do this up front. And we got 38,000, there you go, payload, 38,548 pounds at 61%. But we have a problem because our center of gravity is out of limit. You can see 15.78%. The mean aerodynamic chord, we need to be between 16% and 40%. So that's between these two red lines here. So we need to bring our center of gravity back some. And it's really dumb. I don't know why Microsoft has this payload set up the way that it is. I mean, the percentage distribution of weight in the aircraft is just evenly split between the sections of the aircraft. So we have to manually adjust this. So to move that center of gravity back, we're going to take some weight out of the front of the aircraft. Taking 1,000 pounds out of the front and literally just shifting it to the back. What did I hit there? 0. There we go. 0. So that gets us within tolerance at 20.52. Literally, you could shift even a little bit more weight, so take another 1,000 pounds out of the front and stick it to the rear of the aircraft. And now we are at 23.22%. We'll make a note of that, 23.22. And we'll use that reference to figure out what our trimmable horizontal stabilizer setting is going to be. So that's it. We've got our fuel set, our payload set. We have a total weight of 149,520 pounds, which is below our max takeoff weight of 174,000. So nothing else to do here. Everything is good. We don't have any red indications. So we can close this out, go back in the aircraft, and now the APU is started up, so we do have power coming from the APU. We can turn on the APU bleed and turn off external power. And we'll just do that real quick. So we're on this panel. We'll go down and look at the flight controls. And we wrote down our center of gravity is 23.23%. So, you know, it's amazing how simple this becomes with a little bit of study and reading, because I actually just learned this. Looking at the pitch trim wheel here, there's an indicator, I'd never seen this before, that shows our center of gravity. setting. So if we know that our center of gravity is 23.23%, we can figure out approximately what our pitch trim is going to be. So I need to be here between 20 and 25%. So if we just get the label out of the way, if we bring that to approximately 23.23%, that looks to be fairly close. We'll go with that. So that has us at about, let's say, a 0.6, 0.7 up pitch trim. And if we're, rather than just guess what that is, we can actually look at the flight control window on the ECAM, and it shows pitch trim is currently at 0.6 up. So we'll make a note of that, up 0.6. And we only make that note because you can add it into the flight management computer as a part of your setup there. It doesn't really do anything for the flight management computer, but it's a placeholder for that information. To-do list, we should be at the point where we actually want to look at the flight management computer. So we'll zoom in on that. So I've already switched to the init page. Click the init button, verify that our departure from Denver heading out to LA International, LAX. Flight number today is 1012. Cost index from the flight plan, wow, that's cost index of 5. Alright, so we'll put in 5 here in a scratch pad, cost index of 5 today, flight level 30,000 feet, flight level 300 is correct. Nothing else to set on this page. From here we want to go to the flight plan and take a look at it. Now I've been assigned via my flight plan from SimBrief runway 16 right. That may not be the runway we're taking off from. We'll find out here in a moment when we listen to ATIS. In fact, this is probably a good opportunity to go ahead and do that right now. So we'll bring up air traffic control. We'll go back to clearance here for a second, and let's listen to local ATIS.
Denver Airport information, India 13000 Zulu. 1261 at 7. Visibility 7. Sky condition, few clouds at 1,000 feet. Temperature 4. Dew point 13. Altimeter 29.902. ILS runway 25 and ILS runway 26 in use. Landing and departing runway 25 and runway 26. DSR aircraft, say direction of flight. All aircraft read back hold short instructions. Advise controller on initial contact, you have India.
Okay, so we have information India, winds out of 261 at 7 knots, temperature 4 degrees, a little chilly out there, 13-degree dew point, visibility 7 miles, altimeter is currently 290902, that's good. Runways 25 and 26 in use, so 16 right is not going to be our runway today. Although we know the active runways, we still don't know which runway air traffic control is going to assign to us. And we need to go ahead and get our IFR clearance submitted, so we'll do that now.
Ground Spirit 1012 ready to copy IFR clearance to Los Angeles.
Spirit 1012 is cleared to Lima Oscar Sierra Alpha November Golf Echo Lima Echo Sierra Indian November Tango Lima Airport as filed. Takeoff runway 26 climb and maintain flight level 180. Departure frequency is ONE 27.05, squawk 2511.
Spirit 1012 cleared to Lima Oscar Sierra Alpha November Golf Echo Lima Echo Sierra India November Tango Lima Airport is filed. Takeoff runway 26 climb and maintain flight level 180. Departure on ONE 27.05, squawk 2511.
Spirit 1012 readback is correct. Contact ground on 119.475 when ready to taxi.
Okay, so we have our assigned runway, runway 26. Our departure assigned altitude is going to be 18,000 feet, so we'll go up here to the MCP and just go ahead and dial in 18,000 now. Our squawk code, our transponder code 2511, been programmed for us, and when they do that, they automatically turn on your transponder, and we are reporting an altitude already, but we're still in standby mode. We'll switch that to TA once we start to back out and head towards the runway. So runway 26, we can go back to the CDU now that we know our departing runway. Click on the left select button, update our departure information for runway 26. And we're still heading in the same direction. Did it take 26? No, it didn't. There we go, 26. Still heading in the same direction of flight, so we should be able to still follow our SID. Now, what I can do, and I'll walk through this because this is a no prep, so I haven't done any of this in advance. What I would typically do is probably go out and take a look at Navigraph. So I'm going to bring up the Navigraph map. And should be able to see this here. So on Navigraph, I don't have any SID assigned or runway assigned. So we can take a look at departure from our origin, kind of bring that here to center, take a look at what our options are. Now the flight plan called for, and let's go back and look at the flight plan briefly. Flight plan had assigned a SID of Baylor 6. Go back and look at Navigraph. And we're looking for SIDs associated with runway 26. Huh, that's interesting. Is it? No. I would expect it to be one of these, but I'm not seeing a name. Departure, Baylor 6. Let's just say all the way to Baylor and take a look at that departure. So Baylor 6 doesn't seem to apply to runway 26 departures. This is where this gets interesting. Runway 26. From runway 26, looks like we can use the rocks. So if I go back now, all right, now this is making a little more sense. Let's go back and look at our option. We want to head in this direction, so we're going to do the Rocky 5 departure. So we'll go back from runway 26, Rocky 5. Transition, I don't know the transition right now, so it doesn't matter, we can change it. So we'll just say transition Denver. Now we'll look at the Rocky 5 overlay. And we are DVC. Looks like DVC could possibly be our transition point. It's certainly not Denver. Rocky Den, no, from runway 26, Rocky 5 to DVC. There we go. So that's now Rocky 5, runway 26. It looks like we should definitely be following this path out. Interesting that direct line is on there. Anyways, this is why we prep before some of these flights, to get this information in advance, but at least I have sufficient information right now that I can designate what my departure SID is going to be. So we know it's going to be Rocky 5. So we're going to scroll up here, and we're going to be stymied because, again, no prep. I don't have in this AirAC data Rocky 5. What else do I have? If we go back and look at the SIDs, I mean, I could do a Pikes 2 departure. I can do a plane 1. That's definitely not going to be it. And I could do a yellow 4. Really, it doesn't have... Did I just miss the scroll up button? There is no Rocky currently listed. And this is a perfect example of why we prep for these flights in advance of trying to do them no prep. Okay, well, let's step back for a minute, back to when we started looking at the CDU, and we're going to program the flight management guidance system for our trip today based off the flight plan that we got from SimBrief. Now, the flight plan was loaded into the Microsoft Flight Simulator, but I had not updated the AirAct data inside of the Microsoft Flight Simulator, so I had to disconnect as I was starting to try and go and figure out what my new SID was going to be as a result of the new runway assignment, because we have runway 26. This is why we kind of pre-planned these things, because that didn't go so smoothly, because the SID that I was expecting to follow didn't exist in the flight management guidance system. So I've fixed that, I think. I've loaded up the beta of the Navigraph FMS data. It doesn't show, which I just learned that the display here doesn't indicate that I have current AirAct data, but I should have up-to-date data, and now I should have an appropriate SID to match up with what I was trying to demonstrate just a moment ago in the Navigraph. When we go to the flight plan, by default, the flight plan had us set up for runway 16 right. We listened to ATIS, and we filed our Ifr clearance information, and we received runway 26. Now, since I am coming back into this and I had to restart just to get back to this point so I could walk through this process one more time, we did get a different assigned initial altitude of 10,000 feet and a different transponder code, just so when you see that difference, you'll understand why. So runway 26, we want to make that change right now, and we said we need to go out here and say change our departure. We want to go find runway 26, so here's 26, and now we have additional SIDs, which is good. And I was at the point where I didn't know which SID to select, because in SimBrief, when we're looking at the flight plan, it had Baylor 6, and Baylor 6 is not an available SID for this runway departure. So let's jump back out to Navigraph. Here in Navigraph, you see the flight plan from Denver to LA, and we had clicked on the SID overview. So for Denver SIDs, specifically runway 26, and Rocky 5 is obviously the selection we need to make. Rocky 5, following out west. So we have this information. We can go back now and say we're going to pick runway 26, and for departure we're going to pick Rocky 5, and I'm selecting DVC, and I'll show you how I came to that. If we go and look at the Rocky 5 overlay, here's the SID. If you follow the path out, our next waypoint being right down here, DVC is the natural choice for our transition, that VOR. But we've got a hiccup here in these waypoints. If you look closely at this, you can see the SID tracks all the way out, connects up with DVC, and then from DVC, because of additional waypoints in my flight plan, it's showing me as if I'm going all the way back to Denver and then tracking back out again on these assigned waypoints. So we have to clear those up. I'll bring this overlay back up. So all of these intermediate waypoints can be deleted, and that's what I'm going to do right now. Now, this doesn't affect the flight plan that's in my flight management guidance system. This is just the representation that I'm following on the Navigraph maps. When I select the Rocky 5 SID inside the flight management guidance system, it will assign these waypoints into my flight plan automatically. So we can go ahead and select these early waypoints and just delete them. There may be an easy way to do this. So this is what I expect to see. So now I have a clean departure from the airport, flying out my SID, my transition at DVC, and then I continue on my flight plan with Jace being the next waypoint that I'll encounter. So this is perfect. So now we went through this entire drill just so we could identify which SID to choose in the FMC. So we'll go back now to the plane, and available SIDs for Runway 26, Rocky 5, and we now have that as an option since we did update the FMS data inside of Microsoft Flight Simulator. Select it, please. Oh, it's really, really slow there. Okay, so I selected Rocky 5. It took a moment to update that data. Now I have Rocky 5. In my transition, we said is DVC, so we're going to change the transition to DVC. It's being really slow to update. DVC. There we go. Transition now DVC. And now we can insert this change into our flight plan. All of those waypoints that I just got rid of, you can see got added back in. So Baylor, Boba, Teru, those are the first three. And if you just glance back here at the Navigraph, notice that on this SID, we have Baylor, Boba, Teru, perfect, on down through VOR MTJ down to DVC. Does it have MTJ on here? Go back and look inside the plane. The next one will be MTJ. Perfect. So it's got the updated waypoints that we need for navigation out of Denver. So that's taken care of. We don't have any radio navigation that I have to enter. I do want to go to the init page, the second page. So back to init. This is page 1. We've got the right arrow. We'll right arrow over. And from here, we want to check our block fuel assignment. So we've already set up our fuel payload. And if we go to the fuel screen, there's a disconnect here because this, I thought, at least in my other experience, always seemed to auto-update based off of the payload defined in the aircraft. But notice that fuel on board is 9.2 metric tons, not 10.6. 10.6, if we had looked at it prior to changing the fuel loadout, in fact, you could go back and look at that, it would have been 10.6 metric tons, or the equivalent in pounds. So we're going to change this to 9.2. And then I'm going to put in what my reserve fuel amount was, and I'm going to glance at the flight plan. We just hop out there. I'll go back up to fuel. My reserve fuel is this alternate airport 889 plus 23, so basically just over 3. We'll say 3.1 is the reserve fuel. Reserve, so 33%. And this, so the zero fuel weight calculation, it's giving me 50.2 metric tons with a zero fuel weight center of gravity of 21.6, which is still within tolerance. Okay, so that's at zero fuel weight. We said we were 23.23% center of gravity. With no fuel, we would be 21.6. So we're still within tolerance, so that's fine. So I guess that does make sense. We need to go to the performance tab. So on performance here, we've already got V1, our rotate, and our V2 speed. We want to make note of those. Transition altitude should be 18,000 feet. We get that from Navigraph. Looking at the right, our SID has that information on it. Transition altitude, if you look right up here, transition altitude 18,000. Other things that we look at on here is make sure that it fits our runway. It does. West departures, Rocky 5. Look for our departure guidance, right? So all runways, fly assigned radar heading. Climb and maintain 10,000. Coincidentally, ATC has already given us 10,000 altitude for our departure, and then we'll get our assigned altitude within about 10 minutes after departure. So that all tracks. Looks good. Go back to the aircraft. Transition altitude here, 18,000. All right, now I gotta tell you, not extensively. I've flown the Airbus a bunch of times, and I have never ever seen a different thrust reduction speed. This is the first time that I've observed something other than the general value at thrust reduction, or the altitude, which is like 1,500 feet. Now it looks like we're gonna climb to almost 7,000 feet before we drop back into the climb detente. So that's interesting. I have never seen it go that high before. Wow. It's got to be because of how high we are elevation-wise and being close to the Rockies. So really, really interesting. Runway 26, we're confirming over here. We want to set our flaps setting. So first part of this is the flaps THS, which is our trimmable horizontal stabilizer that we set up just a moment ago. So 1/ and the format that I have found works for me is up, and this goes back to what we set that THS for, which was up 0.6. So we do up 0.6. I drop that in up here, and there you go. Flex temp doesn't seem to really, so far this has been 20 degrees on all of my flights. This seems questionable at best, but I'm not looking at any of the performance data for the aircraft, so I'm just not going to change this. I'm going to leave it at 20 degrees for right now, and we'll hope for the best, I guess. All right, so we should have everything complete now at this point, and I'm ready to go back. We've already got our Ifr clearance. We've got our cleared altitude programmed in. Boarding, we're not doing any boarding. We're not doing any cargo loading using the ground services. All the doors in the aircraft will be closed here momentarily. We do need to remove the jetway, so we can actually take a look outside and go ahead and do that now. So we'll contact ATC again, go back to ground services, and request that the jetway be disconnected.
Denver Ground Spirit 1012, could you please disconnect the jetway from the aircraft?
We can see here that we also have the ground power unit is still connected to the aircraft, so we can also request removal of the GPU.
Denver Ground Spirit 1012, I am done with power.
And one thing we need to do right now is figure out what our pushback direction is going to be. So let's get ATC off the screen. We have runway 26. Easiest way to do this again is to leverage Navigraph for that information. So if we go back out to Navigraph, let me clear off some of this information. If we click on Denver up here, go ahead and open up our charts list. Let's go to airport info. Activate our marker so we can see that we are located down here at the FAR terminal. Here's the main entrance area. So we're parked back here at the corner of the terminal, and we need to go to runway 26. 26, wow, way up here. So we're going to back out and push the nose to the right. Yeah. Nose to the right, come on out and taxi up to runway 26 for takeoff. 12,000 feet, pretty good sized runway, so we shouldn't have any problem taking off from there. That is the plan. So we're going to push back and have the tug steer to the left, I believe. Yes, steer left in order to get us to the right. I always get that twisted, so it's just a good thing to make a mental note. And then when we get our taxi guidance, we'll be able to track along on here as we make our way to the runway. So let's go back. I'll see what other things that we have got to get finished up. We're getting ready to request pushback. We'll need to get our taxi clearance, but I'm going to do the pushback first. I believe that's the correct order. Don't know if I need to request my taxi clearance before I push back. I'm just not sure. What I do know is we got to go up top here. Get on the right screen. Let's go up top. We're getting ready to start the engine, so we're going to turn our beacon light on, give ground crew a heads up that that is about to occur. Spot check everything. We are on APU power. We'll go back down. Switch back over here to engines. Go back up top and do request pushback.
Denver Ground Spirit 1012 requesting pushback.
Spirit 1012 pushback request accepted.
So you really got to pay attention to this. Couple things. They don't give you any indication to disengage the parking brake, and if you don't disengage the parking brake, you'll get pushed back really slow. But while he's getting into position, we can hop back in here real quick and go ahead and start up engine number 2. Starting engine number 2. Jump back out. Disengage the parking brake. Now we've got to tell him what to do, and we said steer to the left. So let him push back a little bit further. Looks like the taxiway is just back there. We'll get across this little driveway here. All right, get him to steer to the left.
Denver Ground Spirit 1012 requesting pushback to steer the aircraft to the left.
Spirit 1012, your request has been transmitted to the operator.
And then we want to be prepared to stop him once we get close to our position. Stop.
Denver Ground Spirit 1012 requesting the end of pushback.
All right, we're stopped.
Spirit 1012 request.
Make sure you set the parking brake. We'll hop back in here. Engine start looks to be good. Everything's in the green, no problems. We'll go ahead and start up engine 1. Engine 1 start. Alright, engine 2 startup is complete. Looks like everything is stabilized. Everything is green across the board, so no issues with engine startup. We've got a couple remaining things to take care of for takeoff. We'll go down here and get the spoilers armed. Set the rejected takeoff auto brake to max. On our transponder, we're going to go ahead and set this to TA. And everything else is on there. We have a warning up here, which I had to look up. This is a new one for me. So Pred WS is off. That is the predictive wind shear, so we know we need to turn the weather on here, so we'll do weather to 1, and then here's the predictive wind shear to auto. That clears that notification. APU bleed is still on. We've got both engines on, so we can go up and turn APU bleed off. Give that a second to shut down. Ground spoilers are armed. Yep, all these indications are expected. Notice that we have weather now appearing on the navigation display. We want to get our flaps set for takeoff. So we have a flaps 1 takeoff. Set pitch trim is already set. Should still be at 0.6. 0.6 up is correct. We'll do our flight control check right now. Left aileron, right aileron, down elevator, up elevator, rudder left, rudder right. Good to go. Controls check out. We should have everything is in the green. The cabin check here is the cabin crew working in the back of the plane. Apparently they have not finished their checks. They would hit a little magic button that they have and this would clear. So far I have not seen this clear at all in my experience in a Microsoft Flight Simulator, so clearly there is nobody in the cabin. So we're going to just click takeoff config and we are good to go. No nose wheel disconnect warning, so that is fine. We'll turn the APU off now. Up top, drop the APU. We'll go ahead and get our lights on for taxi, so we'll turn on our taxi light and our runway turn-off lights. Put our strobe just up to auto, not the on position quite yet. And what the heck, we'll turn the wing light on. Don't have any indications up top, so this should be fine. It's a little cold here, and honestly I'm not very experienced with using the anti-ice feature, so that may be a rude awakening on this flight, so I'm not going to do anything with it quite yet. I'm going to leave it alone. And at this point we are ready to start taxiing to the runway. Before we start taxiing, right, the important thing that we need to do is request permission. So back to ETC, go back to clearance, and request taxi.
Denver Ground Spirit 1012 with Oscar ready to taxi IFR.
Spirit 1012 taxi to and hold short of runway 26 via taxiway Charlie Sierra Mike 10 Lima Zulu November Echo Echo Romeo 9 Romeo Romeo 1. Contact tower on 1 tree 2 decimal tree 5 when ready.
Okay, so this is going to be a little tricky. Let's go back out to Navigraph for 1 second. This is what I would typically do and try and figure out what they've got. So CS to M10, so it's like CS, we're going to come out here straight ahead, M10, hop on L, so we're going to get on the first inner taxiway, L, all the way down.
1012, did you copy?
Taxiing hold short runway 26 using taxiway Charlie Sierra Mike 10 Lima Zulu November Echo Echo Romeo 9 Romeo Romeo 1 Spirit 1012.
So L down here to this little ZN notch, ZN over here to EE to R9. Now R9 is back here. Looks like we're just going to come up here. We're going to hop on R. So from EE, we'll do this little hitch and follow R all the way to R1. So shouldn't be too difficult. We'll try and follow the signs as best we can as we start our taxi, and I'll monitor this from the side just in case we get a little lost. Hopefully that won't happen. Alright, so we're all set to go. We're going to switch back out to our main view here and start our taxi to the runway. Get my notes here, turn off the parking brake, and start to get this show on the road. So we're going to turn here to get on CS. as we start to roll, do a brake check. Yep, brakes are good. So this should be CS heading for M10. Watch our speed. We're picking up a lot of speed here, a little too much in the engines. This should be M10 here off to the right. And then L should be our first turn here. If we look over there to the sign to the right, yep, L is a left-hand turn. Now, I know I have flown out of Denver before, but to look at this airport right now in this detail, this airport is huge. I mean, these runways are so spaced out. This is a massive airport. Keep an eye on our ground speed. We're traveling on the L taxiway. I love the change in elevation of the taxiways and the runways. Everything was so flat in FSX. It feels like we're going to be going downhill here and need to watch our speed. We are going a little bit fast. Try and keep it to 20 knots on the taxiway. I was actually watching a YouTube a while back, and I don't know if this is a real thing or not, but I swear that they mentioned that if you drive too fast on the taxiway, you can actually get a ticket. You can get fined. I'm like, really? Pilots have to worry about getting a fine driving on the taxiways at too fast a speed? Who knew that was a thing? And I am picking up speed here. Take a little more out of this engine. So continuing on down L here. Whoa, hello. A little dip there in the taxiway. And we need ZN, which should be coming up here. Watch our speed. Yep, ZN to the right. Now, interesting, looks like I want to go straight, but there's aircraft over there. I feel like I want to go to the left. There's a little dash line here. We're going to follow this line, make our way over here to what I believe is EE. This should be EE here. Again, we're going a little fast for some of this maneuvering. EE, quick left to quick right to get onto R. Pull some out of the speed here. Again, a little fast. I'm noticing all of a sudden that our configuration for takeoff, right, for the auto brake, we had set that on max for rejected takeoff. Looks like it's turned itself off. I don't recall that being my typical experience when flying in the other Airbus aircraft. It looks like pressing the brake is causing it to disengage. Let me just set it here real quick. Max brake. If I press the brake, yes, that's what's turning it off. So that is an interesting note. meaning that I really can't set that until I am on the runway and starting my takeoff roll. Continuing to watch our speed, going a little bit quick. But this, oh good lord, this is a long taxiway. All the way down to the end to R1. Look how huge this airport is. This is incredible. We were way back there at that tower. Ooh, watch what I'm doing here. It's amazing. Alright, so we're making our way to the start of runway 26. Getting ready to depart Denver International Airport on our way to LA today, Los Angeles, California, and the Los Angeles International Airport. Whoa, we're going really fast now, but you know, I don't see any airport police on the side of the road, so hopefully they don't hold that against us. I certainly don't want to get fined. Should take a little more out of this engine. I should spot check my brakes. I've been hitting the brakes here a little bit on this taxi. Curious how warm they are, whether or not that ECAM page is actually working yet. The wheel ECAM page is new, thanks to fly-by-wire sim. Almost there, passing R3 now, going for R1. Alright, hold short line. We'll get some things set up here real quick. Takeoff light, get our takeoff lights going. Get our strobe turned on. Seat belts are all set. Overhead lights, why are those not on? Those should be on. Everything else looks good. I'm going to go down here. Flight plan is set. We'll go back to engine. Oh, I want to take a look at the wheel. Everything's in the green. They don't seem to be hot, so I don't know if this page is working or not, but we didn't burn them out too bad. Go over here and get our transponder set for TARA. Radar's on. We don't need the engine to be in ignition start. We'll put it back into normal. Everything looks good. We do have working chrono, which we'll go to that here in a moment. So we should be configured for takeoff. We're not going to hit the rejected takeoff max brake until we're out on the runway, and we've stopped applying pressure to the brake. 10,000 feet, climbing to runway 26. We're just going to tune Denver Tower and request takeoff clearance.
Denver Tower, Spirit 1012 ready for IFR departure runway 26.
Spirit 1012 cleared for takeoff runway 26.
Cleared for takeoff runway 26, Spirit 1012.
Okay, we are cleared for takeoff. Just going to take a quick look here at my flaps. My flaps are set, yes. Oh, I didn't mean to adjust that. Yep, spoilers are good. We're going to get out into position here. Alright, 26. We can spool the engines up to 50%. I'm going to click max for rejected takeoff. Then I like to look down here and just get the engines up into flex. Not too much. It's really sensitive. This is ridiculous. There it is. And this whole time, we're not even looking at the runway. The control is entirely too sensitive. So 80 knots, get back on the center line here. 100 knots, rotates at 125. V1, rotate. Positive rate of climb, gear up.
Spirit 1012, contact Denver departure on 2028.25.
128.25 for Spirit 1012. Denver departure, Spirit 1012 is at 7,400 feet, climbing 10,000 feet.
Spirit 1012, Denver departure. Continue to be KDEN as planned. Altimeter 29.902.
Okay, we have climbed. I'm going to engage the autopilot. Bring the flap back in. See, you notice in the FMA, the throttle hops around, and I really don't like how it does that. The sensitivity in the throttle control, there's something not right about it. You know, once I stick it in the detente position, that sensitivity should not be so much that it pulls it out of the detente position and causes problems for the automation, which I really think that's what contributes to the automation failure at times. Climbing to 10,000 feet, airspeed looks good, flaps are retracted back in, everything looks fine. We're going to take the speed brake arm off, flaps are in, we've got the wheels up. Get rid of this for a second. Let's go up top here. Turn off our taxi light. No. Off. I really don't like the labels. Really labels? Plane's moving all around on me. This is getting ridiculous. Come on. Seriously.
Spirit 1012 climb and maintain 16,000 feet.
They told me to climb in 16,000. Got it.
Climb and maintain 16,000 feet, Spirit 1012.
Start our climb to 16,000 feet. We are at 10,000 feet. FMA says we're climbing, which is good. Take a quick look outside. We had a little bit of struggle there on that takeoff. Trying to follow my flight director guidance. Absolutely a beautiful scenery, stunning, real world, right? Roads, buildings, landmarks, so recognizable. What is there not to like? Even with the crappy airline, jet airliner modeling, this is amazing. It really is, honestly. All right, so we're continuing our climb. Let me go back in, spot check, thrust climb, good. We're climbing to 16,000 feet. Need to go up and turn off our landing lights. Everything else looks fine. Make sure I haven't missed anything else. Gears up. Looks fine. We'll zoom out here some on our navigation display.
Spirit 1012 contact Denver Center on LNE 25.905.
Going to LNE 25.905, Spirit 1012. Denver Center, Spirit 1012 is climbing through 13,800 feet for 16,000 feet. Spirit 1012, Denver Center, continue to 2LO as planned. Altimeter 29.902.
So still the same altimeter setting, no change required there. So far everything is going fairly smooth. Sounds like we're leveling off at 16,000 feet. Approaching the Rocky Mountains. You can see, if we jump out and look quickly at the Navigraph, so here's the Navigraph display.
Spirit 1012 climb and maintain flight level 240.
All right.
Climb and maintain flight level 240, Spirit 1012.
See, look, it's back out of thrust climb, which this is so annoying. That totally messes with the automation. Look at it. Why is it not in thrust climb? I'm going to just touch it. There we go. Now, thrust climb. People wonder why they have such difficulty with the automation in this, in at least the Airbus. I think it's a thing even in the 747. Really watch your FMA, because that will throw you off. Looks like we're doing fine. So 18,000 feet is our transition altitude. We're going to go up here. It's getting difficult to see here with the sun, which is a nice little touch. We'll go to standard. So standard altimeter. Look outside again. Take in these beautiful mountains. What? Look at this. Come on. For everybody out there hating on this simulator, please get over yourself. pretty awesome. I'm going to do some experimenting. So this could be a little bit of a trip to California. I want to experiment with the drone camera to see if I can't do a flyby with the jet. I think I know what I need to do, so we're going to be doing that once we get up to our cruising altitude.
Spirit 1012, contact Denver Center on 119.85.
119.85, Spirit 1012. Denver Center, Spirit 1012 is at flight level 215, climbing flight level 240.
Spirit 1012 Denver Center. Continue to be AYLR as planned.
And we're about to cross the Baylor waypoint, 3 nautical miles away. Still climbing to our assigned altitude of 240, 24,000 feet. Airspeed just under 320 knots indicated airspeed. 2992 was set. Just looking here at the standby altimeter to see when I go into standard, it doesn't indicate standard, it just has whatever the last setting was, which is good. Check our ECAM, make sure we don't have any warnings. The status page, right, works now. Thanks to a fly-by-wire sim again. I'll call out their name every chance I get because they have made this, they brought this to where I want it to be a little bit further. They've made it more enjoyable for me. 30, roger that.
Climb and maintain flight level 300, Spirit 1012.
Alright, we are climbing 30,000 feet. Take a look back outside again.
Mark Snyder, 144 descend and maintain 13,000 feet.
Again, we'll do just a quick check. We were looking at the status. So ECAM status is normal. No issues there. Drop that off. Go back to engine.
13,000 feet, landmark Niner 144.
Look at that. Now, wait a minute. Where did this come from? This display changed on its own. This is the first time that I've seen this display, and I was looking for the conditioning, and lo and behold, I have the conditions set here. Check that out. Now, I wonder if that works. Let's make it a little bit cooler, because that's 24 degrees Celsius. Can we chill? Let's chill the cabin a little bit more. See if that changes. I heard that thing click and I was worried that the throttle jumped out of position again. Wow, so they've added some, well, they haven't added recently. This was already in here. Oh, look at it. Did you just see it move? I swear to God. The throttle is moving on its own. Who was that to?
November 9er,
Wasn't me.
7805 Denver Center. Continue as planned.
Everything looks good. Everything's in a green. I am observing that our change in the temperature settings has not adjusted the temperature of the cockpit or forward or aft cabin. So it looks, it's nice that we've got this display available to us. There it goes again. That should not be jumping around. That is a problem. Because I am certainly not touching the flight stick control of the throttle. Alright, where are we here? Oh, what is up with this nonsense? I got some weird stuff going on here in my flight plan. What is going on here? Boba. Baylor.
Climb and maintain flight level 250, Denver 21 Zulu.
Doesn't look like I can use the plan capability.
Contact Denver Center on ONE 28.375.
Taru, DVC. Why is it going back to Boba? This needs to come out. Can I do a clear Boba? I can. Is there another one here? Yes. We need to do a clear Taru. Jace should be the next one after DVC. That's correct. So let's insert this. Taru, Boba, MTJ. Yes, that looks better. So I'm glad we noticed that little hiccup there in the flight plan. I noticed 2 green legs, so we had from DVC it was going to come back to Boba and through Taru again, and that would not be a good thing. We certainly don't want to. We don't need to do a loop. So that was a good catch. 30,000 feet, 200 and now 285 knots indicated airspeed. And there goes the throttle once again, hopping out of its position.
1012, contact Denver Center on 134.5.
134.5 for Spirit 1012. Denver Center Spirit 1012 flight level 300.
Spirit 1012 Denver Center, continue to Taru as planned.
So now I keep hearing that click, and I know exactly what that click is. I think I'm definitely going to have to file a bug report for that. Should not be hopping around like that. That's why on takeoffs, you know, it's so sensitive. See, it just clicked again. It's so sensitive that I go down there and watch and make sure that I put myself into the flex position, the flex detente. So we got a little bit of a trip here ahead of us. I'll show you where we are in Navigraph. So here's our Navigraph display. Let me get this off the page. So Baylor, Boba, Taru, heading down here to DVC. What we had there is we had a little hitch where our flight plan was coming back to the Boba waypoint for some reason inside the FMC. We took out Boba and Taru. We deleted those waypoints. Now we have MTJ, DVC, and Jace. All right, this should be Jace. Yep, Jace as the next waypoint. So now we are on our way. Everything should be good the remainder of the way to LA, and we've got a little ways to go. A couple things I'm going to do in the middle of this flight. I'll probably cut out some sections here, but I am going to play with the drone camera and try and set up a couple of flybys leveraging the drone for that capability. I haven't seen anybody pull this off yet on any of the videos that I've watched, but based off some of the camera tutorials that I watched, I think this is possibly a doable thing. So I'm excited to give it a try. Anyway, I'm Liam Locke. This is Aircraft Adventures. I'm really glad that you took some time to watch the first part of this leg from Denver International Airport to LAX, Los Angeles International Airport. Appreciate you watching this video. If you like this video, I would appreciate it if you click the thumbs up, and if you want to see more of these, especially if you want to see the landing into LAX.
Mike, you are 16 miles southwest. Descend and maintain 9,500 feet. Expect vectors visual runway 29er approach.
I hope you'll click that subscribe button and come back and watch the next video. So until then, I'm Liam Locke, this is Aircraft Adventures, and I will see you for the approach and landing in Los Angeles International Airport. Thanks, bye.